Now we will learn about the loops, repetition or iteration in programs. The objectives are understanding the repetition or iteration in Python program, learning the actual Python loop statement like the while loop and the for loop, and finally practicing with some number ranges. The content flow. So why loops? Loops are actually used in program to repeat tasks without writing code many times. Often in program, you have to execute the similar kinds of tasks for multiple times. And for those tasks, the loops are extremely helpful because it will save a lot of time in coding. Okay. In Python, there are basically two kinds of loop. The first one is while loop and then for loop. At first, we will see about the while loop. Here, I have written some example demo code about while loop. Let's copy this code and paste into our VS Code. Here I have created one new program, loops.py, and I will paste the code here. Here, if we see, we defined one variable I is equal 1, and here the actual loop statement is started. The syntax of while loop statements is, first we have to write the while, the keyword, then after one space, and then here we have to give the condition of loop. Okay, and here after one colon, we have to enter the loop block. So here these two lines of code inside this while loop block, because if you see one indentation or space. So this is the loop block. So let's talk about this loop condition. Here inside this loop block, this will repeat until this condition is true. Alright, let's talk about this loop condition. This loop block will continue to iterate or repeat until this condition is true. Like for initially the value of I is equal to 1, and here we are saying that while the value of I is less than or equal to 5, then it will continue to repeat this task. Okay, so initially as the value of I is equal to 1, and that's why this 1 is less than or equal to 5, and this condition is true. So as far as this condition is true, it will execute inside this loop and it will continue to iterate. Okay, so here initially this condition is true. That means this while loop condition is true, and then it will go inside this loop. And here at the line number 3, here is print statement defined. So it will print in the terminal about the count of I. So initially it will print 1. Here at the line of 4, we are saying that I plus equal 1. So this is mean actually I equal I plus 1. So this is the shorthand of this statement. So for now, let's remove this one and just keep this one. So what we are saying here initially the value of I was 1, and here it is putting this value, and we are summing up with 1. So finally here the value of I is actually reassigning to 2. So initially the value of I was 1. Now at this line of 4, it's actually 2, and it will continue to repeat. So now at the 5 times when this value of I is 5 plus 1, so it will be now 6. Now it will again try to come here and try to check the logic. Okay, so at the 6th time it will say here 6 is less than or equal to 5. So which is true, which is false, right? Because 6 is not less than or equal to 5, and that time this condition is going to false, and then it's not going to come here directly. It will skip the point and will come to the next point, next statement here. So here let's put print done. Okay, so let's run this program. We can see count 1, count 2, count 3, 4, 5, and done, right? So similarly, so when the loops block will ends, it will again go through here and will check the condition. So now the value of I is 2, and we are saying that 2 less than or equal 5. That means this condition again true. So when it's true, then again it will go inside this loop, and again now it will print the value of I. Now the value of I is 2. So in the terminal it will print 2. Again here it will come and it will increase by 1 again. So now this time it will be 3. If we directly put here true, then this true is never going to false because this is statically wrote true. So this true is never going to false. And that's why if we run this program, it will continue to run this program. So as long as this computer open or running, then it will continue to like this counting, because this loop or this true is never going to false. If we put here false and run this program, we can only see done, because this false is never going to true, and therefore it's not going to execute the code inside the loop, right? So here we can put this dynamic condition checking, and we can iterate the loop and stop in a certain time, right? Say for example, we want to repeat this task for 1000 times. So what we will do, we'll just change this value here. So this will repeat for 1000 times, and after the 1000 times it will be false, then it will stop iterating and come to the next line, right? So let's run this program. You can see count is 1000, done. If you scroll up, you can see all the number counted. Okay. All right. The next loop statement in Python is for loop, and with range function. Range is one function in Python that actually gives some ranges, number ranges for this function. So here one range function, we'll just copy this one and put here inside the program. So for the for loop here, I am saying that for I in range 1, 6. That means this I we did not define, but this is the instance variable for this for loop. Okay. So this range is going to count from 1 to 6, and for in the 6 range, it will going to iterate this loop. Okay. So when it will iterate for the first time, it will start from 1. That means this instance variable of I will contain 1. And like this, when it's going to iterate for second time, the value of I will be 2. And when the loop is going to iterate for third time, the value of I will be 3. And it will be continued like this until this range of int. Okay. So in this range function, this is indicating the start range and this is the end range. Okay. So let's run this program. So we can see count is 1, count 2, count 3, 4, 5. But here we have the start range of 1, and it started from 1, but it stopped at 5, but the end range is 6. So this is how the range function work in the Python programming language. So the end range is always stop before the count, not exact this 6. Okay, this is one rule you have to remember. So here if we put 1000, so this count is going to happen for 999 times. Okay. So here if we run this program, we can see 999. So we just put here 1001, then it will come to 1000 count. All right. So this is how actually the for loop works in Python. There are some other very common basic application of for loop, and that is very commonly used and most useful, and often we can use, and often we use it. We will see it later. For now, you saw how for loop works with the range function. Now we will explain the range function in a short. So here, if you see, the range function takes actually 3 argument or 3 parameters. Here we given 2 parameters because this is optional parameter. The first parameter is indicating as start range, and the second is the end range, and third is the step. Step is actually, we will see, just let's copy this program and put in the program file again. Here if we see, for I in range 2, 11, 2, and it's just printing the value of I. Here it showed another example, sum of the first 5 numbers. Okay. So let's see about this first point first. Okay. For I in range 2, 11, and the step is 2. So if we run this program, so we can see it's started from 2. So it's started from 2. Here there is no 3, but directly 4. Here there is no 5, but directly 6, because the steps is 2 here. If we put 3 here, we can see, if we put 3 here, we cannot see 4 here. We will see 2, 5, because the steps are 3, right? So this is the step how works in the range function. So if we run this program now, we can see 2, 5, 8. Okay, so let's remove this one, and here it is saying sum of first 5 numbers. So we have taken one variable here, total is equal 5, and for here, for I in range 1, 6, the start range and end range, and here we are summing up the value of I. Here total plus equal I. That means, this means total equal total plus I. So how it's actually working? Initially the value of total is 0. The first time the value of I is 1. So 0 plus 1 equal 1, and finally it's actually putting into the total. So now total is 1. Again the second time the I is 2. So 1 plus 2 is equal 3. So this 3 value will be preserved in the total again. So now the total is 3. Again in the third time the value of I will be 3, and here 3 plus 3 equals 6. Now total is 6. Like this it will continue to sum up till this range, in range. So it will iterate for 5 times, it will sum up and put into the total variable, and finally we are printing the sum of total, right? So let's run this program, and we can see sum is 15. If you sum like this, you will get the result 15. It will similarly sum till 99. Okay, so 4950. If you manually calculate it using calculator, you will get this similar result. Okay, so now let's see about the next point, the break and the continue statement. Okay, so what these are, we'll see in action. Let's copy this program and paste into the VS Code. Here the both are shown, the break and continue. First of all, we will see about the break statement. So for now we commented out for the continue statement. Here we'll focus on this now. What is the purpose of the break statement actually? Break statement is actually used in Python loop for breaking the loop in a certain condition. Okay, breaking the loop in a certain condition. So here if we see, this is the general loop we just saw in the previously. Here is the basic loop we just saw earlier, and here we are saying that for I in range 1 to 10, and then here is actually printing the value of I. Here we are seeing 2 extra line for breaking statement. Okay, so what we are telling here, if I equal 5, here is a basic if statement used. So we are telling that if the I is equal to 5, let's break the loop. So the break statement is just putting the break, okay, the keyword break. So when one loop will get one statement like break, immediately the loop will be stopped. It will not go further. Even this is true. Okay, even this is true. If the loop get the break statement, it's going to stop the loop immediately. So let's see what happens. Okay, just run this program. We can see 1, 2, 3, 4. But this range should print from 1 to 9, right? But it did not print, because when the range is equal 5, then it's actually coming to this block, and then it's actually breaking the loop, right? So here if we just comment out these 2 lines, we can see the print of 1 to 9, right? But here when we are getting it back, we can see when the value of I is equal to 5, that means it's 4 printing, then it's actually going to break. Here if we put, say for example 8, then it will print till 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is how the break statement works in Python loop. Alright, let's see about the continue statement. Let's uncomment this code, and here we are saying that for I in range 1 to 10, and if the value of I is equal to 5, then it will continue. Continue means skipping the current iteration. Okay, so whatever code here under this continue statement, the current statement is not going to evaluate this whole code, but it will continue from here and it will go here. Okay, so let's print this program how it's actually work. So if we see, the printing pattern is 1, 2, 3, 4 and here is no 5. Here is no 5 because when I is equal 5, the value of I is equal 5. Here, from here the loop was continued and it did not reach till this. That's why the 5 is missing here. So like this, whenever we want, we can continue a loop statement under certain condition. Okay, in that condition the loop is not executed the below code. So under that certain condition, the loop does not print or execute the code under that continue statement. Alright, okay, now next here are some homework for you. The first homework is write a program that prints numbers from 1 to 20, but it will skip the multiples of 3. So that means it will not print the 3, it will not print the 6, it will not print the 9, it will not print the 12, like this, the multiplications of 3. Okay, then the second homework is write a program that asks the user for a number, okay, and print a multiplication table of the number. So let's try this homework by practicing this loop first, then and try to do this homework. Thank you.